Happiness by Jane Kenyon. There's just no accounting for happiness, or the way it turns up like a prodigal who comes back to the dust at your feet, having squandered a fortune far away. You make a feast in honor of what was lost, and take from its place the finest garment, which you saved for an occasion you could not imagine. And you weep night and day to know that you were not abandoned, that happiness saved its most extreme form for you alone. No, happiness is the uncle you never knew about, who flies a single-engine plane onto the grassy landing strip, hitchhikes into town, and inquires at every door until he finds you asleep mid-afternoon, as you so often are during the unmerciful hours of your despair. It comes to the monk in his cell. It comes to the woman sweeping the street with a birch broom, to the child whose mother has passed out from drink. It comes to the lover, to the dog chewing a sock, to the pusher, to the basket maker, and to the clerk stacking cans of carrots in the night. It even comes to the boulder in the perpetual shade of pine barrens, to rain falling on the open sea, to the wine glass, weary of holding wine. Happiness. After I watched the Academy Award 2023 nomination, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I was struck by the stylistic similarities to Kenyon's poem Happiness. The film, written and directed by Dan Huang and Daniel Scheinert, is about the overwhelmed, dissatisfied laundromat owner Evelyn Wang, who is thrown into a careening multiverse by her husband's suggestion that she enter a coat closet. In myriad universes, she battles to find meaning in life and to counter the dark force of a bagel with everything, which is actually meaninglessness. Her daughter Joy, whom she is afraid of losing to a life and to values she doesn't understand, explains this to her in this scene. The universes are all united in the search for meaning and connection. Unlike Evelyn Wang, Kenyon's speaker bathes in the unpredictability of happiness, which is made real by its connection to loss and loneliness. Kenyon's first stanza alludes to Luke's prodigal son's return after squandering a fortune far away. The poignant return is made so by the extravagance of the speaker's forgiveness. Weeping night and day to know that you were not abandoned reveals the depth of suffering that precedes the advent of happiness. The verse switches to a carefree uncle landing his single-engine plane while the speaker, in a seeming fog of afternoon depression, sleeps during the unmerciful hour of despair. Each work illuminates the ordinariness of daily life with fantastic connections. Whether the IRS office or the grassy landing field, the unexpected and seemingly impossible occurs. Called the luminous particular by Kenyon, this melding of the mundane with the sublime marks both works. Linking deepest thought and feeling to the most particular and concrete details of life calls forth happiness and meaning. Like actress Michelle Yeoh's overwhelmed and distracted character Evelyn Wang, Jane Kenyon herself endured bouts of depression, which she referred to as the anti-urge, the manipulator of souls. The emptiness of her days is implied in husband Donald Hall's writing. He wrote, "In the separation of our double solitude, we each wrote poetry in the morning. We had lunch, eating sandwiches and walking around without speaking to each other." The repetitive detail of her husband's many New Yorker articles after Kenyon's death at the age of 47 from leukemia parallels Wayman Wong's initially annoying niceness and apparently nonsensical Google Eye games. Evelyn Wang is dismissive of a husband whose love is overshadowed by the random universe jumping of her psyche. That is, until he verse jumps and becomes Alpha Waymond. The pace of both works increases radically once the themes are established. From the gentle airplane flying uncle's arrival, happiness comes more rapidly. To the monk in his cell, to the woman seeking the street, to the drinking mother, the lover, the dog, the pusher, and the desk clerk, Kenyon's reader frantically chases elusive happiness, which simply comes unannounced. In the film, Wong's battles with daughter warrior Joy Jobu Tupaki move to the same dazzling pace until it's only Wong's eyes that hold the screen's center as her multiple identities flash in overtimed sequence. The mystical quality of life's meaning and happiness's arrival eventually center upon the stillness of nature. Rocks high on a barren cliff visually convey the mother-daughter unity in everything everywhere, while perpetually shaded pines and rain falling on the open sea suggest a similar non-human awareness. Kenyon's poem, unlike the film, ends on a note of weariness, even depression. The movement and experience of joy diminishes until it is nearly forgotten in the final stanza. The solemn imagery of a shaded boulder and rainy sea replaces the tone of unexpected joy. The extreme weeping evoked by happiness in the first stanza is gradually depersonalized, even dehumanized, until the rock and sea are its recipients. The poem's calm tone corresponds to the distance conveyed by rocks in a desert landscape representing Evelyn Wong and Joy in the film. The space to contemplate is welcome, if momentary. As the Evelyn Joy rocks careen off the cliff into the freeing unknown, the triumph of connectedness, of finding meaning in meaninglessness, is experienced. Kenyon's happiness is ultimately wearying. Like the depressive state, the old anti-urge, which does not allow happiness to stay long, the wine glass seems a vessel for emptiness. Kenyon titled her poem well. Happiness leaves the reader waiting for the unexpected to recur.